Moving forward, there was a great deal in this budget about cutbacks, and I think Canadians need to be aware that I'm very worried from the language I heard that there would be cutbacks in how the government operates. So let me just read a bit more here. Hard decisions will be needed to keep federal spending under control, focused on results. Quote, grants, contributions, and capital expenditures we placed under a microscope. Grants and contributions are generally, that's how you see money going whenever it does to non-government organizations, to organizations working in development and environment. I'm very concerned that coded language here is that people who rely on grants and contributions may see them dry up quickly. We need to keep track of that. Another statement here that I think suggests that we're going to see really punishing cutbacks to the civil service. This quote, departments will have the funding they need to deliver essential programs and services and no more, unquote. So the question is, what are essential programs and services? How much will these cutbacks affect health and safety for Canadians? The next big section is about energy. And here we see the Harper government displaying its hand very clearly in favor of nuclear energy and the rapid industrialization of Canada's north. In fact, this is a quote. The Greens are very concerned as a party about the expansion of the Athabasca tar sands. We called for a moratorium, and we know that the Mackenzie gas pipeline from the Beaufort Sea to southern Canada is primarily designed to deliver natural gas to the Athabasca tar sands to expand those. It's not natural gas to offset more intensively polluting coal burning, for example. It's specifically, the pipelines are directed towards the Athabasca tar sands because the energy requirements of turning bitumen muck into crude oil are very intensive, and they basically could use all the natural gas estimated to be in the Beaufort Sea for the tar sands. So these two projects should be seen as one big mega project. Anyway, here we are, quote, the natural gas that lies beneath Canada's north represents both an untapped source of clean fuel and an unequaled avenue to creating economic opportunities for northern people. Our government will reduce regulatory and other barriers to extend the pipeline network into the north. So that's a pretty clear statement that we're going to see a lot of pressure to fast track the Mackenzie gas pipeline, but note the discussion of pipeline network, so more than one pipeline and rapid expansion in the north. We also heard that there would be a standalone agency to expedite development in Canada's north. The discussion of nuclear energy is described in the speech from the throne as, quote, a proven technology capable of reliable large-scale output. Now this is interesting. The government says that they will ensure that Canada's regulatory framework is ready to respond should the provinces choose to advance new nuclear projects. Bear in mind that in the last session of Parliament, the Harper government fired the president of the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. So what does this particular sentence suggest will be in the future? I think it means that the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission may find itself pressed to quick approvals of nuclear reactors without proper study, and I think it suggests that the Harper government will want advance approvals from the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission instead of a reactor-by-reactor licensing process. The previous Minister of Natural Resources, Gary Lunn, already suggested that's what he would want. Now, the session on climate change, as in last year's speech from the throne, they set out the goal for Canada, 20% reductions by 2020. But again, as in 2007, the 2008 speech from the throne never mentions what the base year is. The Harper government, unlike every other nation in the world, is using the year 2006 as a base year instead of 1990. So whereas every other nation in the world measures reductions against 1990 levels, the Harper government measures reductions against 2006 levels when emissions were 24% higher than they'd been in 1990. So a 20% reduction by 2020 doesn't even get us to the year 1990, much less does it get us to where we're supposed to be under the Kyoto Protocol. So Mr. Harper's target will leave us by the year 2020 about 10% off our Kyoto targets, which were supposed to be achieved by 2012. They have made an announcement that the federal government will work with provincial governments and partners and implement a North America-wide cap and trade system. Clearly, they've been affected by the fact that President-elect Barack Obama is talking about such a system. Bear in mind, though, that President-elect Barack Obama is talking about meaningful reductions in greenhouse gases more rapidly than those being discussed by the Harper government. This is a very strange announcement. Our government will set an objective that 90%, this is a quote, 90% of Canada's electricity needs to be provided by non-emitting sources such as hydro, nuclear, clean coal, or wind power by 2020. Now, 90% electricity from renewable and green sources is a very aggressive target, but this, of course, is not renewable nor green. There is no such thing as clean coal at this point. It's a hypothetical technology not yet commercialized. Hydro, large-scale hydro, is not considered green and is not sustainable. Nuclear, again, is problematic, very capital intensive, does not return the results we need for reductions of greenhouse gases. Our most important efforts are in improving energy efficiency and energy productivity. That's not referenced. So, and even more bizarre is the jurisdictional question. How can the federal government set a goal for electricity since electricity is provincially regulated? It's a very interesting, somewhat perhaps like Mr. Harper's promise to reduce wait times, where he discovered later it was provincial jurisdiction and they were unsuccessful in reaching those targets. This one they describe as an ambitious national goal. And by the way, they continue support for biofuels in what has already been proven to be a fraudulent effort diverting corn and grain to fuel crops instead of to food. The one good thing in this whole speech, and we need to track it and see if it actually gets done, is to propose legislation to ban all bulk water exports from Canadian freshwater basins. Now that's very interesting, and it comes from somewhat out of the blue, although it was the statement approved in the Canadian Federal Water Policy of 1987 under the Mulroney government that was never actually implemented. But this certainly would be good news if we could get legislation to ban all bulk water exports. It's the only thing in the speech from the throne that matches Green Party policy. So with that, we have another few sections on Canadian security, cracking down on crime, and international global security, working, of course, in the war in Afghanistan until 2011, talking about the process of trying to reduce and withdraw troops by 2011 and training of Afghan forces. There are no references to many things that are critical for global security, no references to the need to move to bolster the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which the Harper government has weakened by agreeing with the United States to allow the trade of nuclear technology to India, even though it violated that convention, by the way, making nuclear weapons from a Canadian reactor. We have a long way to go to see the kind of signals for global peace and security that would be real, and obviously we have a long way to go to see this government respond to the climate crisis or the economic crisis. In any case, the speech from the throne was much more than, as Mr. Layton described it, bland. I don't really know how he missed these glaring examples of non-sustainable, aggressive pursuit of the wrong kinds of energy, as well as pursuing economic policies that are flawed. I look forward to a new speech from the throne as soon as possible from a greener government. Thank you very much.